if you give somebody a sugar pill, it's a very powerful thing. I can say, this is magic. If I give this to you, you're going to be able to fly. And you can think that you can. I mean, like, and you might not actually fly. You're probably not. You're probably going to crash and die jumping off a cliff, but you're going to jump farther than the other guy. You know? 3, 2, and 1. Hello, and welcome to another episode 8 of the One Life to Live podcast. I'm your host, David Vanderhayden, and today we're going to be talking about supplements, everything that you need to know, the essentials, and to help me along the journey here, I brought my good friend Will. Will is he's a trainer at LA Fitness with me, a pretty knowledgeable guy. He's currently getting his master's degree from Oakland University, and he's a pretty good knowledgeable source on supplements. So you can follow Will at his Instagram at WiamYaldo. We're gonna have to put that in the description if you guys want to see how that's spelled out there. But how you doing, Will? How's it going, man?
I'm doing good, David. How are you?
I'm great, man. I'm feeling good. We were just talking about supplements for like the last half hour before we started, and there's just so many things that we could touch on, and I'm just hoping that we do people justice today and introducing them to the topic, and we'll probably expand on this in the future. You know, I'd probably have you back over sometime to talk about, you know, update on research or like a very specific, because there's so many interesting areas of research, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you know, there's things that I remember even just when I was finishing up my master's degree, it was like, you know, these were like these hypothetical situations where like, oh man, you could really, you know, it would be a really interesting study. Like when I was in Washington, you know, for example, you know, Washington, they legalized, you know, cannabis, for example. So like, I remember everybody was like, oh man, can we do an endurance study on cannabis and, you know, get a bunch of people stoned and have them out running. You know, I was like, that sounds great. You know, like, I mean, they might have great results, you know, out there running, but they might not know where they end up by the end of the study. You know, like we might lose a few people, you know, like this guy's been out for 5 hours. Where'd he go?
I get lost.
Yeah, get lost, but lost
that might
in research.
actually be a good study.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I want to deep dive into the research on that. But so yeah, like in the future, like, we should totally have you back on here for that. If I don't scare you away with today's episode. So
no.
Oh, and we're on video actually too. I forgot. You know, so we got. We're trying the experimental video podcast out, and there'll probably be this version will probably be slightly different. Like if you're listening to this on the podcast, you're probably listening to the audio podcast, and there's also a companion video that you can check out that might be a little bit different. Maybe it might be edited slightly differently. And if you're listening to the audio version and you want to check out the video one, I'll probably have some graphics. So like if we mention some kind of crazy biochemistry thing or some really hard to picture word like beta hydroxy beta methylbutyrate or something like, what the hell is that? Like, here's a graphic for it, okay? And it'll show you, or we talk about creatine, breaking down, and you know, with the creatine kinase into something else, or creatinine, or we can show you like little graphics. So if you guys like those little graphics, and if we mention, probably what I'll do too is I'll probably put some like Amazon links too, like in case people want to buy these supplements, you know, and I'll probably do like an affiliate link, you know, so that way I get a little kickback my way, you know. I'll be like, here, buy steroids, buy the most expensive kind, you know. Here's my coupon code. So I don't have those, but might do that. So yeah, but how you been lately? Well, I was going to ask you, we were going to talk about, like, you know, obviously there's been this quarantine stuff lately, so yeah, probably haven't been working at LA Fitness. I know I haven't. So
no, I haven't.
What have you been up to, man?
I just been at home most of the time as everybody else, you know, trying to come up with new home workouts.
Oh yeah, following Instagram stuff and people's stories.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, I get entertained from that stuff. But I actually just bought me a bike too.
Oh,
and, yeah,
like a cycle, or like an lower body ergometer, like
actual bike. A
bike, yeah, that you ride around, recreation for fun. I don't know what this guy with the fun. And I forget the camera's there. Like I have like a little picture of a Will photoshopped on a bike for you guys. So that's good. Like a mountain bike, or?
Yeah, it's like a little hybrid bike between mountain and road. And I've been trying to use that as much as I can when I'm going around places, just to get a little physical activity. Yeah.
You've been watching my streams, right? You've been checking out the One Life to Live stream, our Facebook live streams that we've been doing, right?
Yeah.
I've seen you pop in and out. I've been trying to help people because I think right now more like it's an interesting time because there's a lot of areas like online personal training and stuff like that, which you would never dabble with. And now I've had my clients asking me if I do online personal training and like, does LA Fitness do anything like that? Or, you know, like I've been doing webcam stuff with some of my TBI patients and stuff like that, which is just me down here in my basement, you know, with good lighting and everything, but just walking them through stuff. And luckily I had experience working with them in person first. So when you have technical difficulties, it's not that bad. But like, I remember, like I was walking one of my patients through there and like I was surprised that, you know, because she's got some cognitive impairments and stuff like that because of the brain injury, but she like went through everything. I thought I'd have to be there in person, but she went through everything. I was like, wow, I guess this really could work. Before I would think it wouldn't work. Like say I couldn't make it down there that day because the weather is terrible and they're snowed in or something like that. But now it's an option. Maybe I could do the webcam thing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to do online personal training, you know, hit me up. Okay.
I look into that too.
Maybe check out my online services that I offer through my Patreon at patreon.com/onelifetolift or no /1L2L. Try to keep it simple for people. But that's actually my highest tier is like, I have like a tier on there that's like $100 or whatever. And you can do like an online personal training consultation kind of thing. I can try to train you over the webcam, but I mean, it's basically kind of probably break down to like, let's just talk about your program, what you're doing. You know, I'll give you professional advice. And if I want to show you some stuff, I can, but you never know. That could be the future. Supplementing as a supplement to your current training. See, supplements. See, it all ties together. Supplemental training. So you got your main training at the gym, then you got the supplemental person. Be like, here's Will. He's our supplemental trainer. You're like, no. Like, is he better or was he worse? Like, is that a good thing? Like, he's like, no, he never gets off the couch really. You never really see him from the waist down. So he's out of shape, but he's a smart guy, you know? So
he's the supplemental trainer.
Yeah, that's good, man. I like that. See, this is why I like to do a podcast. We just come up with good ideas for people, you know, just run with it.
That was a great idea.
I know. Ooh, okay. So that's good. It's good that we've been adapting to the come up with supplemental programs. But let's talk about supplements. Let's talk about dietary supplements.
Let's talk about.
I guess everything is really dietary when you think about it because you ingest it. But I usually try to think of it a couple ways. Like you got your regular kind of insurance policy supplements, like your multivitamins, stuff that you take. You know, the standard stuff that you would take, and then we have the type of supplements that are called ergogenic aids. And a lot of people don't really know what ergogenic aids are. They never heard that term before. So could you explain what ergogenic aids are just in a general sense? Like if somebody says, what the hell is that? Like
ergogenic aid is something that's related to increasing performance during exercise or any physical activity.
Yeah. So like, it's not like you're taking some vitamin C or something like that, you know, or you're not taking like, it's something that's directly related to increasing performance or maybe helping you with recovery or maybe something more, something that's indirectly related to exercise, but it's always something that's related to exercise and performance in the end run. So a lot of time ergogenic aids is used for like when you're studying athletes, because like those are the people who are like, they're doing everything right. They're eating right. You know, they're getting their regular dietary supplements, you know, they're taking their vitamins and whatever, and, you know, they're eating right, but they just want, what's that little thing that's going to give me the edge in my sport versus the other guy? So if you're a sprinter or something like that, right?
Yeah.
By the way, I need my water. Where is that? There it is. So yeah, as we're taking a water break, what exactly are you drinking there, by the way?
This is called Uptime. It's sugar-free. It's caffeine, ginseng, ginkgo biloba, CoQ10, coenzyme Q10.
It sounds very complicated.
Yeah, it just it's pretty much like an ergogenic aid or used to just give you a little energy if you need a little pick-me-up. The caffeine really does most of the work. The other stuff is just to potentially enhance it.
Could it be used maybe as like a pre-workout or something like that? Like
it could,
in a bind if you don't have your normal stuff. So what are we talking about with pre-workout, by the way? If I say pre-workout, because that's kind of another classification of aids, is like, not of aids, of ergogenic aids or like of supplements. You have like your your ones that increase your performance, and then there's the ones that you take like for recovery, and then there's other ones that you take before a workout, right?
Yep.
So like a pre-workout would be something like what? Like
caffeine supplement.
Yeah, something that's going to give you like energy boost.
Or even something that has citrulline malate, which is a nitric oxide enhancer.
Gives like your blood flow and like more blood flow to muscles and...
Yeah, it helps with performance.
Yeah. Or like something that's going to make you have that tingling sensation. So like you take like a beta alanine or something like that. Something that's going to make you physically feel like you're feeling the effects of it.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah, like you got to watch with some of those pre-workouts because people get really carried away with them. Like say, for example, you take something and it's like making your heart feel like it's going to explode out of your chest, you know? Like didn't they have like a pre-workout that was, because one thing you got to think of when you're talking about ergogenic aids is like safety. Like that's the very first thing. Like before you say, does it work or whatever, you got to like rate the risk versus reward. But like some of these are just like risky with like, I mean, you might as well just, if you're going to take something risky, take something better that's going to work like steroids, you know, like don't even, why even mess around with this stuff? What was the one thing you were talking about before?
The one banned substance now is 1,3-dimethylamylamine.
Yeah. DMA?
DMAA.
DMAA. Yeah. That's the stuff. Don't take that stuff, right? That's what we're trying to say?
Yeah.
Here in the description, you can buy, go to the website.
I think it was back in 2012 or somewhere around that time when it got banned. And then one of the most popular supplements was the Jack 3D.
Oh yeah,
it was a popular pre-workout, and they had to take it out of their supplement.
Well, that's the thing about supplements is like the FDA doesn't regulate them because if it's a food item, they're the Food and Drug Association. It's like if it's food or drugs, like they can regulate it. But if it's a supplement, you can just basically do whatever you want with it, pretty much. And like if you say it's a supplement, it's like a scapegoat term, and it's almost like they shouldn't even have that term. You know, like it's just a supplement. It could just kill you or whatever. And then later on, after somebody dies or whatever, like, oh, maybe it shouldn't be on the market, you know, or it's this kind of BS or like, you know, what bothers me too is like, you always want to find a good, like you want to say what's a good supplement. So you try to find something that actually has, like you go to GNC or something like that. They got all these different brands and it's like, how do you know which one to pick? It's like, it's the paradox of choice. Which one do I pick? And it stresses you out because like, did I pick the right one or should I pick those other 6 that look like the exact same ingredients? Yeah. And when you're trying to pick out a good supplement, you just have to go with like trusted brands because if you try to go with the cheapest option, so if you're trying to just pick the cheapest thing, you don't even know if you're getting the right amount of it in there. Like they can do tests. Like usually it's cheapest because if it's the absolute dirt cheapest option, it's probably because they don't pay to get it tested. And if you pay to get tests done on these substances, you can verify that they have the amounts of what they say are in there. And they don't even really have to, but if they have like a certain seal of approval on there and stuff like that, but that's why they're the cheapest. So it's like when you order wine at the restaurant, you don't want to get the cheapest wine, you know, you want to get the second cheapest wine. Okay. So you don't need to get the most expensive, you know, but like the other thing that happens when you start paying more for supplements is it kind of starts to make you more accountable. Like you're paying more for them. So you feel like you gotta make use out of it because supplements are supplements. They're not the main thing. They're like you eat right and you exercise and then you do the supplements, right?
Supplement your diet or exercise.
It's right there in the term. Yeah. And that's what I think a lot of people miss is they, we could talk about this all day just from a philosophy standpoint, but you know, it's like supplements are giving you these small incremental boosts and they're specific also to the application. But if you're not working out enough and you're not dieting correctly and you're not doing all the things right that you should be doing, why are you chasing after that 1%, 2% boost in performance when you're missing out on 60% of your stuff, right?
Yeah. Got to have that handled first and then go to the supplement.
Like why spend money on these supplements, hundreds of dollars of supplements, but not buy yourself some equipment that you can use at home or when you're in a pinch? Or why not use that to, get a gym membership or a personal trainer or something like that? Like if you're going to spend all this money, that's not what you're lacking. It's not because you're not getting a small performance boost, this little magic. That's what people want though. They want to just be able to sit on their butt. Like what you shouldn't use supplements for is you shouldn't use them in place of hard work. Like just because you take a supplement, I hate it when it's like don't think of it this way. Don't think of it like I take the supplement to make up. So now I can slack off, so like I'm taking the supplement. It's like the people who eat junk food and then they take a multivitamin. They're like, well, good. I mean, I got all the vitamins I need for the day. So I eat like shit and I'm not tracking my macros or I'm not looking at my total calories and I'm not, doing all the things that you should be doing.
But they got their multivitamin.
And it just doesn't work that way.
No.
I mean that's dietary supplements. Like, we'll talk about in a little bit. I'm going to ask you what you're taking and I'm going to talk about what we're taking and we'll talk about I'm going to cover all the basic stuff, all your basic vitamins and stuff. And then we'll also probably talk about like specific people because there are certain situations where it's like maybe you take a multivitamin, but you might need a little bit more of a certain substance because you're in a certain population or like a very specific use.
Yep.
Maybe on a special diet, you might be on a keto diet or a vegan diet or something like that. So we'll talk about that too. So supplements, you shouldn't just take all of that. Like you shouldn't just waste a whole bunch of money by doing like if you should make it specific to yourself, So let me just talk about that because I think I brought it up. So if you're an athlete, okay, you're going to be taking things that an athlete would take, right? You're going to be looking for those. You got everything right, and you're just looking for those little boosts. So, like, say you're a sprinter, you wouldn't take something that a long distance runner would take, or you wouldn't even be concerned about maybe certain things that a lifter would be, or a bodybuilder. You might not be looking at like HMB or something like that. Like you're more looking at something like maybe you're a 10K runner and you need sodium bicarbonate, but a sprinter would be more benefiting from taking creatine. Although creatine probably works for everybody, you probably could say take out, why not? And creatine's super cheap. But like if you could take every supplement under the sun, it's like you might just be wasting. You might be spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And if you're a professional athlete, like go ahead, like whatever, like I mean you're making millions of dollars, but still, I mean like you want to take this fleet of pills. It's like you got to know what works for you and. I'll probably cover that in the future. Like we'll probably do episodes on like if you guys want to write in too, like say, okay, I'm maybe not, I give the example of a sprinter, but you say like, I'm a long distance runner and I want to do this, or maybe I'm a bodybuilder and I'm in a cut phase and what supplement I need to take supplements for that. Or I'm a power lifter and I don't care about, things like, my how much I weigh or something. I just want to lift heavy or whatever. Those things are all going to change. Or like, if you're a vegan, like what should you take? Blah, blah, blah. Write in that got one life to lift at gmail.com or go to our Facebook page where you can, like the page One Life to Lift and you can write in and post it publicly or you can message me or whatever, or join the streams, So, just there's a specificity to it. So, let's talk about ergogenic aids specifically because ergogenic aids is kind of what we're talking about. This is an exercise channel. It's all geared towards people who are going to get into exercise. So first of all, let's cover. We just talked about how you need to be very specific. Well, let's talk about kind of the blanket ones, the ones that are the easy ones, like the tried and true ones that they tell everybody. So what I tell all my clients to take, it doesn't matter who they are. Is there's the big three that I call them, and I'm sure you agree. It's creatine is the first one, protein like whey protein or protein powders is the other one, and it's basically the teens. It's the creatine, protein, and caffeine, and those three together, it's like there's pretty much no negatives to taking them. I mean, like unless you have like a condition that like you have high heart rate, you can't take caffeine or whatever. But those ones are. They're all throughout the research. It's kind of like old news that they work, but it's like, people might not know that. So let's maybe break those down. So the first one of those is, which one you want to cover first? It doesn't matter. Creatine. Okay, go ahead. So creatine, what is it? And what do you do? What do you do with it? Why would somebody take creatine?
Creatine, you have it naturally in your body. And
it's like a naturally occurring substance.
Yep.
Yeah.
And your muscles use them when you're about to do an explosive activity like running, jumping, something that you need quick energy.
Yeah, like explosive energy.
Yep. So the creatine,
like a sprint or something like that, or like you're gonna leap through the air or something, or jump really high, or be explosive, or do a power clean or something like that.
Yeah. Anything explosive like that, you're gonna use that. It's the main energy system for the first 10, 15 seconds. And usually you have the creatine, then you have creatine kinase, attaches a phosphate to it, and then you use that as an energy because it cleaves the phosphate.
Yeah, it's like your body prefers high energy phosphates, and you have like these different energy systems. I think we covered this probably in episode 1 a little bit, where I talked about the different energy systems, where it's like you got your slow energy systems, where it's like they make a lot of energy, but if you need that thing right now, like a currency, you need cash right now draw it right from your bank account, you need it right now. Creatine is like if you take a creatine supplement, you're just basically putting a lot of cash in your checking account. Okay. Maybe it's not in your savings account or whatever, but if you need it now, it's there to go.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a good analogy.
Thanks. Yeah. So, I like to rock a lot of analogies. Whoa, rocking that anatomy. I think a lawyer's just called and we have to cancel the show. This was PG friendly, but now it's, well, it's still parental guidance, so. But the other analogy I like to use a lot, and not anatomy, but analogy that I like to use is like a high performance vehicle. Okay. So like you're in a car and you need, have a muscle car and you want to just take off and you want to beat the guy next to you. Okay. It's like, you're going to burn a lot of fuel that way, and you're going to run out of energy quick, but you want to be able to beat that other guy out. So if you're a sprinter or something like that, you want to beat that guy out. You want to just have a slightly bigger tank of that phosphocreatine, that creatine that's been phosphorylated. It's a high energy now, and it's usable. So the muscle car is trying to beat the car next to it. It doesn't care about going a long distance. It doesn't care if it burns a lot of fuel. It just needs an efficient way of burning that fuel in those 10 to 15 seconds, let's say, because that's about what it is for a sprinter, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. So we're back. We had to take a little break there, but I'll fix this all out in post, but we were limited by the camera because the camera cuts out every 24 minutes. But I was talking about how it's really hard for you to get enough creatine in your diet because you get it from meat and stuff like that, but it's hard to get it in the right amount, right?
Yeah. What is it, about 1 gram of creatine per pound of beef?
Yeah, that's about, per pound of beef. So a lot of people think it's just like for meat, but it's actually specific to beef. And I think tuna, for example, you can get the most amount of creatine, things like that. But, if you don't like fish or, so like creatine can really come in handy. And then with fish, if you eat a massive amount of tuna, like, eating like 16 cans of tuna or whatever to get your creatine in per week.
And mercury.
Yeah, exactly. Like mercury poisoning becomes a factor. And, if you're like a big bodybuilder dude, and you're just taking his massive amounts of stuff, it's like those little tiny trace amounts of like mercury or something might get you. So it's cheap, it's effective, it's safe. It's like I one time I did like a presentation in grad school that was on creatine and like the meta-analysis and it was like a summary of all the different meta-analyses and stuff. And I actually gave a breakdown. I had a slide on like showing how cost effective it was. And like people were like, oh, like I remember even like some of my, I won't name any names, but people that were in my program were like, creatine, you think that works or whatever? I'm like, it's not like, it's like old hat. Like everybody knows it still works. Like there's still like myths out there about the safety of it, and it's like it's completely safe to use. And the thing is, it's like it's dirt cheap. Like if you break down the actual like per ounce, like how much creatine you get, and like when you take creatine, it's like 3 or 5 grams is like in a scoop. If you have the scoop, like if it's like a rounded portion, it's like 5 grams, and I think if you flatten it out, it's like 3 grams or whatever. But like that's really condensing out. That's like several pounds of meat that you're just taking into this little. It's micronized powder. It's tasteless. You can slip it into like anything. You can put it in your cereal in the morning if you wanted, whatever, or you just take it down, take a swig of it or mix it with some water. It's like, it's the easiest thing in the world to implement. So in that case, it's like, it just makes sense. It's like, part of the problem is like if you have to eat so much meat, like say you try to say I'm just going to get all my creatine in naturally, I'm just going to a massive amount of meat. It's like you'd have to eat so much meat, and unless you're on like maybe the carnivore diet or something like that, you're not going to get that much meat in your diet. You're going to eat so much meat, you're going to have so much protein in your diet. What about your other macros? You're not getting enough fats, and you're not getting enough cruciferous vegetables. So you're not getting the right carb ratio and stuff like that, and your starchy vegetables and stuff. So to me, it's just like, it's so much easier to get that. And that's the thing about supplements is like, could you get it in theory in your diet from natural sources? Yes. But it's like, it's so much easier, and it's so much easier to keep everything in balance. You're trying to balance all these different things. Just make it easy on yourself. Here's a lab that's done it for you.
Not practical to try to get it from your diet, creatine at least.
Yeah, creatine is one of those ones where it's like, and it's kind of a no-brainer because it's like it's found in everything. So I told like Scott Krause when he was on episode 1 that he needed to do some HIIT training. So like he's doing the high intensity bursts of high intensity exercise like sprints and stuff like that. He'll do a sprint and then he'll rest and sprint and doing rest, doing the HIIT style stuff. So hopefully he's taking some creatine. I told him it's so cheap and easy to get creatine and monohydrate. It's kind of one of those things. So that's one of the big threes is creatine. And if you look at the technical markers, what are the big ones? So just so we can hit on that, fat-free mass.
Yep.
It decreases, it increases your amount of fat-free mass. So basically you have less fat mass, more fat-free mass. That's a good thing. Yep. Basically you put on muscle and bone.
Yeah. Your power or your capacity to lift.
Yeah, like your anaerobic capacity, right? So like your ability to do those explosive lifts, you'll see increases. Like you'll be able to lift more weight explosively, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's a big one.
Volume.
Yeah, so like volume is like how many reps and sets that you do in a workout. So like your weekly volume would be like how many pounds you lifted for the entire week if you add it all up. And when you take for resistance training specifically, it's like if you're trying to do these explosive reps or whatever, and you can squeeze out another 1 or 2 reps because you have just a little bit more of that stock of ATP or phosphocreatine, which is basically, think of it as like energy, like ATP. You have a bigger stock of that creatine. You can just squeeze out 1 or more 2 reps, and that adds up. You get another 1 or say it's like 2 reps, just to make the math easy. Another 2 reps every set for 10 sets or something like that. That's like extra 20 reps, and then you multiply that out, and you can see how like you're getting those extra gains. And when you're the type of person who's trying to scrape by for that little edge over your opponent, that's what's going to make the difference. If they're not taking it, they're probably stupid at this point because everybody knows take creatine. So that's one of the big 3, one of the big eens.
Yep.
So the next big een is caffeine, and everybody should know what caffeine is. I don't think we got to define it. Like caffeine is the extract from the nut of a. No, I don't know. It's like we're not going to look at it. You know what caffeine is, okay? Yeah. But I think a lot of people when they don't think of it as a supplement in the sense of like so many people are already on it. So like most people don't have to think I have to take a caffeine supplement, but here's the issue is like maybe you're just drinking coffee or whatever. It's like how do you know how much you're getting in a brew? And usually when you see it in research and stuff like that, or you're trying to prescribe it to someone, they say, or you take a pre-workout supplement, a powder or something like that, I'm getting this exact amount of milligrams of caffeine in my diet. It's not guesswork. So I would say that if you're just banking on your coffee to be your caffeine source, it's good. Like if you just want to, increase your performance in general or whatever. But if you're just downing cups of coffee all day, number 1, that's not good because you're not cycling it. But number 2, it's like you don't know how much you're getting per brew. So
no,
like you need to literally take a pill. Like if you're a runner or something like that, take a pill or take a powder. That's the only way you can do it. And that's why you have to buy it. Think of it as a separate supplement to your normal routine.
Yeah.
And I know you're a big caffeine guy. Like, I mean, sometimes I'll see Will before a workout. He's like, she's shaking, I'll be like, Will just took his pre-workout. You can tell he's just like fidgeting. He's like, I'm ready to go.
I do like my caffeine.
Yeah. And like, I'm not like a big pre-workout guy. Like I'll take it before like a leg day or something like that. And my pre-workout has caffeine in it. And I think every pre-workout known to man has caffeine in it. So, because it's just,
there's a few stem-free pre-workouts, but
yeah, well, that's probably because those people are like, they're already on caffeine and they don't want to like
add in more. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like, it makes sense. Or like those nootropics, usually you don't see that. So like nootropics are things that enhance, we're not going to cover nootropics today, but that's a really good topic. I'd like to deep dive into those because nootropics help you focus from a mental state. And since we know working out is so mental, if you can do things that make you feel more motivated and what, I'm sure you could probably take Ritalin. I'm sure.
I've taken a few nootropics.
ADD? Yeah.
I have not Ritalin or anything like that.
I know. I'm just thinking like that would probably be like, but obviously that's like taking crack. So it's like, but you want things with like less side effects, but like that's part of the thing about supplements is like, if they're too good, there's probably like something wrong with them. And if they're like going to give you these subtle things, that's where research becomes really important because you don't know whether or not it works. So it's like, if it's giving you such a small effect, you know, and you want to make sure it's not just a placebo thing. And, you know, you gotta trust in the research. So right now, nootropics have like research that's like kind of all over the place. Like I think that's why we need to do it separate thing, just to make sure we get it right. But, you know, I guess, could you classify caffeine as a nootropic? I mean, yeah, it's psychoactive, right? Yep. So yeah. And it's probably similar to like how you think about using like, you know, weeds or like, you know, for like the THC, you know, aside from the CBD and stuff like that. But
yeah. A lot of supplements have, a lot of nootropic supplements have caffeine in them.
Yeah, but that's the thing. The reason why I mentioned them is because there's certain ones they specifically sell them without caffeine. Like I've tried one, Alpha Brain. It's the one that Joe Rogan has. I have it upstairs. I take it sometimes when I'm doing a podcast. Yeah. So I can like, because it's supposed to help with like word recall and stuff like that. But that one specifically doesn't have caffeine in it. I'm sure there's probably a caffeine and caffeine free. Yeah. But I like the caffeine free stuff because like I like to be able to tease stuff apart. It just gives you more options. It's kind of like when you take a multivitamin, but then I also take like vitamin D or something like that. It's like, I know that the multivitamins are going to have the right amounts of stuff like potassium and stuff like that. You're not going to find those in, but because they're hard to get, they're like, you know, but like sometimes you need to separate it, you know, so you need that extra amount. And that's where it's like, for what are you talking about? For caffeine, you might want to tease that apart because you want to say, I want this amount of caffeine at this time. And you might be able to separate it, you know?
Yeah. So. Not have it with everything else.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't want to take caffeine at night too. Like you got to get that nighttime workout in, and you just don't want to be wired for it. So you don't take your pre-workout, you don't take things with caffeine, but maybe you want to take your nootropic or something, you know? And yeah, so that's where it kind of comes into play. Although I don't think you need word recall in the middle of a workout, but
no, a lot of pre-workouts have some nootropics in them.
Oh yeah,
like what's that one? Alpha GPC.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. Oh, I should really do a thing on Alpha GPC one of these times. I think that was actually on I had some notes for like future videos and stuff like that, and that was on the list. I'm gonna cover that probably in the future. It's good.
There's also other choline type supplements like acetylcholine.
Yeah, acetylcholine, ACH.
No, that one too. But I was actually thinking about it the different form.
Oh, okay.
Acetylcholine.
Oh, okay. No, I'm not sure about that one. We could probably do like a nootropics. Maybe you and I could try out some nootropics and see if we can report some, do some case study stuff or whatever. But yeah. But I definitely want to make sure I dive into the research on that one. So, yeah, nootropics, nootropics. Yep. Interesting thing.
There's a few other ones I tried. Centrophenoxine. I don't know if you ever heard of that one. That's also a choline.
Oh,
actually, that's a choline. Actually, I don't remember, to be honest. DMEA. It's choline and DMEA, I think.
Interesting.
I don't remember.
It's all right. Oh, I'll cut that out for you. Well.
Yeah.
All right. So we talk about nootropics, and let's get a new topic after these nootropics. New topics with nootropics. So I did want to talk about, we talked about creatine, we talked about caffeine, and the reason why I wanted to bring those up together is because we talked a little bit about cycling. Okay. So there's certain supplements that you want to cycle, and there's certain ones that you don't want to cycle. There's certain ones that you get sensitized to and desensitized to. And so like caffeine would be one that you might want to cycle while we're talking about that, because this is the hard thing is like, if you really want to get all the benefits of caffeine, you should only take them when you're ready to work out. But people need them. They rely on them to stay awake. They kind of use it as a crutch. So for me, my personal strategy is don't ever take caffeine unless I need it for my workouts. Or like I'm going to go do an event, or maybe, I don't know, I'm going to be on a podcast or something like that. I want to feel the effects of it. And when you get desensitized to it, you need a larger and larger dose, and then you'll get a lesser effect too if you're not desensitized to it and you're ready to go do a race, for example, and you take your caffeine or whatever. It's like it'll just make sure that you might get a boost, right? But you're probably just maintaining that state that you're in rather than getting a boost from it. So I like having it in my back pocket for when I need it. But something like creatine, it's just a stockpile that you have in your body, and once it's maxed out, it's good. It's not like you're gonna get desensitized or not to it. Yeah. So there's no reason to cycle like creatine, for example. So, you know, you got to think about that for each one. But I think I talked about that in my stream one time about cycling, because I gave that to the example of like, I was talking about your natural energy levels throughout the day. And I was talking about like how people take, they always just drink on regular intervals for their coffee. It doesn't depend on if they're tired or not. They get up in the morning, they have their coffee, and then they go do the workout or whatever. It's like, well, you'd have a better effect if you waited till you got tired and then took it. So it's like, wait for the dip and take it on the dip, rather than if you take it when you already have energy. I mean, it tastes good and you're drinking coffee or whatever, but it's like, it's not helping you that much more. Same thing with like, maybe you're doing cannabis. I was talking about this for someone who smokes a lot or whatever. It's like, if you smoke weed all the time or something like that, it's like, you just need it all the time, and it's like you don't feel it as much. It's kind of like you miss the effects that you did get from it, and you just, you know, like, so like it's good to go off of it for like a week or something like that and resensitize. Same thing with caffeine. Like maybe you take like 5 or maybe you guys could try this. Like if you're drinking caffeine right now, try taking a week off. Maybe when you don't have to get like a major work project done, maybe it's quarantine, so you can do that, you know, and try that, cycle off of it, and then when you go back in, it's going to hit you a lot harder, and you're going to feel a boost from it. So that's my recommendation for cycling.
I noticed just 2 days off of caffeine, I start feeling it a lot more than.
Yeah. Well, you're a big caffeine guy, so I don't knock it, but everybody is. So I think I'm probably the weirdo just for not, you know, like, I mean, every man, woman, child. And that's just because there's just not like a lot of negative effects of it or whatever. So unless you're like on a, you know, you have a high heart rate or something like that, and you know, you're
high blood pressure.
Yeah. And you want to like just stop taking those stimulants so much, you know,
Calm down.
Take it down a notch. So that covers the big two. What's the other one? Protein. So protein is, we're talking about like a protein powder basically, because obviously, you know, protein's just a macronutrient, but the protein powder specifically is just that convenient thing that you can take to ensure that you're checking off all those marks too. And you're also getting high quality stuff. And if you're getting the cheapest powder too, you don't know if you're getting the high quality stuff. Like it's expensive to get good quality powder because it comes from good quality sources. Yep. So you take what, whey protein or something?
Whey protein, yeah.
Every day? You brush your teeth with it? Come on, man, what you do? Wake up in the morning, have half a scoop.
Lately, I haven't been taking it as much, but when I do take it, it's every day, like twice, maybe sometimes even 3 times a day.
Yeah, I mean, like it's usually put in the form of a shake or something like that, but you can mix it in with stuff. I mean, you can make like
I usually put it in like some frozen fruit and in a blender and make a shake out of it.
Yeah. Like it's just convenient. It kind of gets you. So like we'll talk about. I'll do a whole podcast on protein one day, and that we're gonna save that because, well, we're not going to talk about the amounts, but like I want to talk about the amounts, but I also want to talk about some of the things that are in protein. So like the reason why whey protein is so good is because it's kind of a catch-all, because like there's all these other supplements you can take, like leucine and any of the branch chain amino acids and stuff like that. So for people who don't know, like branch chain amino acids are the stuff that really stimulate muscle growth, so muscle protein synthesis, and it's valine, isoleucine, and leucine. So you can think of it as like leucine, isovaline, valine, right? Or isoleucine and valine. So those are the ones that are like really effective. And one of them, the big grand poobah is like leucine. And everybody's like in the research is saying like take these leucine supplements and metabolites of leucine and everything that's related to leucine or around leucine oxidation and muscle breakdown and all that stuff is related to leucine, and that's the big one. But it's like you get that from meat, you know, and it's like high quality protein sources will give you the 3 that you need.
Yeah, high concentration of leucine and the other branch chain amino acids.
So if you guys want to take branch chain amino acids, like knock yourself out. Although I think a lot of times it's cheaper and it's just a lot more simpler. It's not like the branch chain amino acids aren't cheap, because they are. I'm just saying, like, if you're really going to try to break it down, it's like your protein powder is probably going to get you covered there. And there really hasn't been a whole lot of it's been pretty weak in the literature that shows that taking branch chain amino acids on top of getting enough meat in your diet and supplementing with whey protein, it just doesn't seem like it gives you that much of a big effect. So I don't really buy into it. I think it's just one more supplement to buy. You buy the powder, you buy the branch chain amino acids. It's like it's a combo. And maybe in like specific scenarios, like somebody who's like just really having a hard time getting like, but now they have like pea proteins and stuff like that. I was gonna say like for like vegans and stuff like that, but it's like really, it just doesn't seem like it's that good of an excuse. Maybe keto people use that, right? They use the branched chain amino acids because they're having a hard time finding that. So
one thing I did want to mention is I noticed when I take the metabolite of leucine, one of the metabolites, beta hydroxy beta methylbutyrate.
Oh
HMB.
yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Try saying that 10 times fast.
Yeah.
HMB. Let's keep it simple. That's the one he's talking about.
Yeah, I notice if I'm getting in enough protein, I don't feel much of a difference when I'm taking it. But when I'm in my starving mode, or if I'm doing intermittent fasting, I do notice there is a little bit of it does help to stop muscles from breaking down.
That's what the literature says basically, is like HMB. It shows all these trends, these effects towards preventing muscle breakdown. So maybe if you're thinking of it as like, I'm going to take HMB, and by the way, HMB is still being actively researched, so we don't know the full picture yet. It's nice to say like, this is exactly how it's going to work, but until there's more studies, like right now, there's studies coming out all the time. I see them all the time for HMB, and half the time it's like, HMB didn't do anything, and then like other times, like, well, in this population, this instance, it did this thing, and it's like, but what the trend that we see is like, maybe you wouldn't think about it as like, I need this to build more muscle, but maybe for anybody who has any kind of muscle atrophy, they're trying to prevent the muscles from breaking down. So if you have these muscle wasting diseases and stuff like that, and you're trying to hold on to those gains. So like for me, I used to have a supply HMB. I think I still do, but I haven't gone off of my workout program in a while. So like when I would be worried about that, where I wasn't exercising enough and stuff, I was taking my HMB just because I was like, I want to hold on to those gains a little bit. But I don't think that it shows much for like muscle recovery and stuff like that. So I don't think there's really another reason to take it. But I see that all the time. They did when I was doing my time restricted feeding stuff for episode 4 of the podcast, where I did the blog write-up. You guys can check that out. Time restricted feeding, intermittent fasting. There was some studies by Grant Tinsley that they did where they had resistance trained women athletes, and they had them take I didn't mention it because it wasn't relevant to the discussion, but they had them to a HMB protocol, and they didn't find anything with HMB, but they found out things about time restricted feeding. So a lot of times in studies, they're testing for multiple variables, and then you just kind of see where the chips fall, and you try not to have too much bias. But that's one that's still on the edge right now with the research. But there's still other ones that you can recommend to people. Like, do you want to just talk about maybe what ones we're on, and then we'll see what we can cover?
One more thing I want to mention about HMB.
Okay.
Well, one of the studies showed that it helped with 10 days of bed rest. So if they were just bed resting, taking HMB, it preserved muscle. So that's something people can use like if they ever get or if they ever get injured.
Yeah, in a cast or something.
Yeah, to preserve their muscle until they're able to go back. Like for an athlete, for example, if they get injured, they could take HMB for a while until they get back to it. I mean, that's what the literature says.
Yeah. Yep. And if you guys want to ever want to get a good resource for looking up like what the literature is saying, and you don't want to actually have to read the research, I wouldn't recommend this, but they have the links in there. It's called examine.com. And they actually have an examine.com. They have people go through there, and they'll say you type in HMB. Okay, so we just had a word from our commercial break sponsors, but we were just talking about examine.com. And I just wanted people to have a good resource where they could go and they could check things out, because like we were talking about HMB, you could just type it in and it would tell you for each effect, if it was, the muscle soreness level, for the different recovery markers, fat-free mass, whatever you want it to be to look up in that site, it'll tell you the effects. And then if you look on each one, it'll say, well, here's the studies, and you can click on the study for that effect, and it'll show you how it got that magnitude of the effect for each one of those studies. So I'd recommend that if you guys just want a quick crash course in something and see if something works. But what were you saying on the break there, Will? Where you're saying like you also want to make sure that you make sure there's the right amounts of when you go to a supplement, go to a store and you want to verify.
That it has the right amount that's listed on the label, and then also that it doesn't have extra ingredients that are not supposed to be in there that are not on the label.
Yeah, like filler stuff that shouldn't even be in there, like stuff that's not on the label.
Yeah, or even like amphetamine type substances.
Oh,
you know.
well, that's the one thing that we should probably mention here. The kind of elephant in the room is that if something is working really well, there's probably something that shouldn't be in there. So like, let's say like every time there's some new product that's like doing really good and people are getting crazy results from it, it's like if it sounds like it's too good to be true, it probably is, and it's probably steroids. So if it's some derivative of them or something that's a precursor, like a pro hormone or something like that leads to testosterone, it's like 9 times out of 10 they find out that, well, 10 times out of 10 that these things are actually just like substituted words for like, this has steroids in it, but we found a clever way to market it as not steroids. And sometimes you don't know that you're taking it too, because like it says it's something that they're only putting this in there, but they're actually putting some other substance in there. And if you can't trust the company and they aren't independently verified from a third-party testing service, and you know they don't have sketchy marketing practices, and you don't trust the people, then they could be putting something in there and they're just deceiving you. Like, you're like, no, I'm not taking any of this. And that's just bullshit, because if you're someone who competes, you know, like some natural bodybuilder, and you get tested or something and you have a weird testosterone rating, or you're an athlete who competes and they find these blood markers or whatever, it's like, that's bullshit. You shouldn't have to worry about that. And in that case, it's like, you don't know whether or not you can trust the athlete either. It's like, I didn't know that was in there. It's like, whether it is or not, it's like, it was on you to do your homework to see if what you took, if it's questionable, don't do it, because it's probably, if it seems that you got that gut feeling like, I don't know, should I do it? It's like, better safe than sorry. And when it comes to supplements, this ties in with the examine.com and like doing your research and stuff like that, and reading research. That's the best thing you can do, is reading the individual studies, but people don't know how to read studies. So that's what I'm saying. You want it's the case where you want to be skeptical. Okay. So you want to, in my opinion, I think supplements are guilty until proven innocent. I don't think it's the other way around. I think you should be skeptical, that your initial mindset should be, this probably doesn't work, but let me look into it. And then you start thinking, well, okay, well, it looks like for this population, it kind of works or whatever. And then you start forming an opinion about it. And then when more research starts coming about it, and it shows consistently, yes, this shows an effect for this, then you can trust in it. But until then, just assume that the shit doesn't work. You know, assume be skeptical of what you read. And if it's too good to be true, for a weightlifter, if it's too good to be true, like they're getting a bunch of muscle, it's probably some derivation of steroids or related to that family, which in case, if you want to take steroids, you do that instead. Like, don't rely on these weird, sketchy supplements. Just take the steroids, okay? And I'm not saying take steroids because they have risks, but if that's really what you're into, make sure that you're taking the stuff you at least know what you're taking, okay?
Yeah.
Because then you know the risks, you know that it's putting your life at risk in certain elements. And, you know, we'll talk about steroids in another sense, but maybe that's worth it to you. But you want to make sure you're taking those risks and you're paying for what you are. You want to be prepared. Yeah. And then, so that's for strength athletes and or bodybuilders. But then you have the other element of like endurance people. So you had the whole blood doping scandal with, Lance Armstrong and all those cyclists. It's like everybody who did that did EPO. And you can explain what EPO does basically to the layman's people? Like, it affects your blood.
EPO is
it's erythropoietin, and
it stimulates blood cell production,
like red blood cells.
Yep, red blood cells.
And red blood cells carry oxygen. If you have more oxygen, you can make more energy.
Yep.
So that's the thing, is like, if you're you don't take steroids as a biker because you don't want to have this extra mass you don't need, but you do want to be able to have your aerobic capacity increased. So, people would inject themselves with, it used to be you have to literally inject your own blood back in there, and then, that was bad. But now they isolated the exact, it's a hormone? Let's see, EPO. I don't know. It's the exact substance that you...
protein hormone, I believe, right?
You just inject it right into your body, and boom, there you go. You make red blood cells. So, but those things have risk. If it's too good to be true, there's probably something behind it. So there's a risk factor. Like, if you just wanted to have some kind of super soldier, and you'd be like, okay, I don't care, you're about to go die in combat or whatever, you're going to give them steroids, you're going to give them EPO, you're going to give them all these crazy substances that are, you're going to genetically engineer the crap out of them, okay, if you need to. But, it's like that they're taking those risks already as like a soldier or whatever. But if you're just like an athlete or a recreational lifter and stuff like that, it's like, it's not worth the risk to do these extreme measures. And if you're getting these crazy results, 10, 20% increase in your results or whatever, that's a little bit too high. Yeah. We're trying to scrape for those last couple percent.
Yeah.
it's like, if it's too good to be true, then it probably is. No doubt.
Yeah. If it gives you too much energy and it feels too good, it also could be too good to be true. Amphetamine-like substances that might be present.
And it's not to say that like you couldn't take like things that give you a placebo effect too. Like sometimes things give they're good on their own merit, and then they're good because you ascribe a certain effect to it, and that's the placebo effect. So like when they look at these studies and the research that we're talking about, they always compare it to a sugar pill, because if you give somebody a sugar pill, it's a very powerful thing. I can say this is magic. If I give this to you, you're going to be able to fly, and you can think that you can. I mean, like, and you might not actually fly. You're probably not. You're probably going to crash and die jumping off a cliff, but you're going to jump farther than the other guy. It's a crazy analogy. You can jump off a cliff. You're going to get the record for the farthest to jump off of a cliff.
Yeah.
But it's not you when you give somebody you give them a sugar pill and you tell them it's going to work, they have to believe in it. So that's the problem. That's the conundrum though, is like, okay, well, if you're a smart person and you're naturally skeptical about ergogenic AIDS, I should really say that. So you're naturally skeptical. You could be skeptical about AIDS, I guess, but skeptical about ergogenic AIDS and supplements is like, you're not going to feel the effect to the other person who's like, okay, well, I just took this. I don't know what's in it, but I feel great. It's like they're probably going to feel those. So that's the simple-minded kind of people probably benefit. So stupid people tend to do better. I mean, that's why superstition works so well, right? We should do a placebo episode sometime. Look at all the placebo, because there's a bunch of great examples that you can come up with that stuff. But that's why people are superstitious. This is my lucky hat. This is my lucky routine that I do. And when I do this, I feel better, because it puts you in that perfect mental state. And since most of the limits that you feel are in your head, and like, spoiler alert, a lot of supplements, all they do is like they remove inhibitions your bodies have in the first place. So if you can get so psyched up mentally that you can remove that inhibition through a placebo effect or a mental thing or a superstition, then do that. That's why mentality is so
natural supplement. Right?
Yeah. It's like natural adrenaline. It's like you're going to inject adrenaline into your body, or you're going to get psyched up and make it yourself, because your brain is a drug factory. You can say whatever, turn on whatever, all the drugs and stuff that we take, they just inhibit, they upregulate or downregulate stuff, and your brain can do the exact same thing. So it's just, it's hard to get in that mental state, but if you can psych yourself up, you might not need that supplement. So it's possible for somebody who's taking a supplement to beat somebody who's taking the supplement, because maybe they're getting nocebo effect and they're getting the placebo effect. So the power of the mind is crazy. Like,
it's very powerful.
That's why like sports are like 98% mental. It's like at a certain point, everybody's at the top echelon. They have great body, a good physique, natural good genes or whatever. And then, so what separates the one athlete from another? It's usually not their supplements. Supplements help, but it's usually their mental state and their consistency. So most people, they can't work out consistently. So it's like, what's the point of consistently taking your supplements if you're not going to consistently work out? It's, people debate all day about when should you get your protein and blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, are you working out? Because that protein is just going to go right through you if you don't have anywhere to put it. So
yeah, or turn into fat or something.
Yeah, we should do a placebo episode. That'd be fun though. Anyways, so I think that covers that. Let's talk about we still got some time here, because we do have to kind of wrap it up, but I do want to talk about like what each of us are taking, and that will give people kind of an idea. And then also some things that maybe you're thinking about taking, or like what's interesting areas of research, and maybe just some other supplements that we might cover in the future, but we're not going to have time to talk about today. So, well, what are you on right now? Well, what's you on right now? Not right now, like what you on in general. I'm just saying, what's your Supps, man?
Right now I'm taking Citrulline malate.
That's a good one. Yep. That one's been showing some promise in the research. And why do you take that one?
For increasing nitric oxide production, to stimulate vasodilation.
That's where your blood vessels dilate. They get bigger vasodilation, and you get more blood flow, and it's good. That's always a good thing.
Yep. And I'm taking caffeine as usual. That's
standard.
Yeah.
What about dietary stuff? You take any? You take a multivitamin every day or something like that?
I am taking a multivitamin. I don't take it every day. I take it pretty much every other day. Yeah. Something like that. And
You getting your microminerals in your water? You getting your you drinking your spring water, something like that? Or are you drinking like? Because I actually get some trace minerals I put in there as an insurance policy. Oh, they got to talk about the insurance policy. Go on.
Well, I just try to take in like coconut water sometimes.
Yeah.
Watermelon water. Like,
Well, you want electrolytes, you know,
Yeah.
you want to, watch my streams. I have footage that I'm going to be uploading onto YouTube too of like how to get, why microminerals are important, what they are, calcium, magnesium, whatever. But I do take magnesium sometimes. Like I did take magnesium last night, and I should have taken it the day before because I did a leg day. And magnesium is good because like not only are a lot of people deficient in it in general, but like you need calcium to make a muscle contraction, but you also need magnesium in order to get everything to relax.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you kind of need, they're two sides of the same coin. You kind of got to have them both. And I don't think people really get what either one of those do. So in general, they think calcium is just for your bones, you know, which is true. It's not true. I mean, it's not false that it is true that you do need calcium for healthy bones, but your muscles require calcium to make a muscle contraction. In fact, it's sequestered from the sarcoplasmic reticulum. That's what you know what I'm saying? I know that's what the audience was going to say. They're like, Dave, is he going to say it? You know, the elephant in the room, you know? But yeah, your little bag of calcium that you need to make a muscle contraction. So I take one of those, but I think that I really want to talk about the idea of taking a multivitamin just in terms of an insurance policy, okay? Because I think the insurance policy is a good thing. So it's like, but you got to know how much you're paying for your insurance policy. So like if you take you're taking multivitamin as your insurance policy just to make sure that you're doing everything right, how much are you paying for this insurance policy and what does the insurance policy cover? So like in real life, it's like, you know, you might pay for a really expensive insurance policy, but you might never use it. So like somebody's taking a multivitamin, they're taking this multivitamin, but they're never going to use it. You know, it's like they're probably fine getting most of their stuff, unless they're like really missing out on certain, they're getting deficient, but like maybe they don't go out in the sun and they're not getting enough vitamin D, and that's a lifestyle thing. But it's got to your insurance policy has to match your lifestyle. So if you get an expensive insurance policy and you're taking expensive supplements and vitamins and stuff like that, it should match your lifestyle and your needs. So if you need that expensive insurance policy, go for it. If not, you're wasting your money. Focus on your health and not be healthy and don't rely on the insurance policy. That's a separate topic, but it's very true. So there was something else I was going to talk about with the insurance policy.
How certain people need certain vitamins.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's true. Lifestyles. So certain people, like, say that your lifestyle makes difference. So like, say that you're someone who is indoors all the time and you don't get enough sunlight. Well, you're probably, you might not get vitamin D from you're getting it from your multivitamin, but not in the amount that you need. Like me, I take 5,000 IUs of vitamin D every other day. And I sometimes I'll take it like multiple days in a row or whatever. It's not the big deal. It's not like an exact thing, but I'm just saying like during quarantine right now and stuff, I haven't been getting out in the sun enough, and you just need it. And it's good for your immune system, especially with the coronavirus and stuff like that going around. And then it's also good for your bone health. It's like a hormone basically that you take, because it is treated as a hormone in your body. But we are going to have to wrap up this discussion a little bit because it looks like we're about to run out of battery. But I do want to finish talking about the supplements that we're going to take in a little bit. We're just going to swap this out, and we'll be back in a little bit. Now we're back, but I think we were right in the middle of talking about what you took there. I went off a bit of a tangent, but let's try to wrap up what we were both talking about because it doesn't get too long-winded. But I think you said that. What was the last thing you said you took?
I think I was at citrulline malate.
Oh,
but I also
which makes you make more arginine. Arginine. It makes you make more arginine than arginine does. So
yes, it does.
Kind of funny. It's kind of funny how that works. So it's like one of those examples where it's like you could look up taking these other supplements, and your body has so many different ways that it makes all these different metabolites. It's kind of crazy. Isn't it all related to the urea cycle? And those are different components of that. And there's another one too. It's like it's a erythronine or something like that. It's the other metabolite. So there's 3 of them. So there
is. Yeah, I don't
but citrulline is the one that's you to go. So citrulline's a good one. And then what's the other one?
Beetroot juice that I'm taking also.
Is that like a powder or something, or what do you take? Okay, you don't just take the juice.
No.
You on the juice, man? Is that what people mean when they say you're on juice? This guy's juicing, man. He's like, yeah, beetroot juice.
That's that real juice.
Yeah, it's that good shit. Hey, man, you got some of that beet? Get some of that beet juice, man. Yeah, beat your ass juice. Beet juice. Straight up beet juice. We'll have that. We're gonna whip that up. That's what we've been drinking this whole time. Yeah, straight up beetroot juice. Just nutrition on beetroots. So, and is that it? Is that how you take? Oh, there was one other one that you
ashwagandha.
Ashwagandha.
Yeah.
Sounds like something from like The Lion King. Like
it does, right?
Rafiki is ashwagandha. Smash banana. Yeah. So, what does that do for you?
That's like an adaptogen. Helps you adapt to stresses.
I always think of that as like maybe you're trying to like you're stressed out and like you're trying to recover from that. Yeah. So like adapting to stress. So if you're trying to maybe recover from an insult that you make to yourself, like your body, not an insult like a verbal insult. I'm talking about like you do something to insult your body, cause a damage to your body, and you cause stress to your body, and you're trying to recover from that, right? Yeah. Is that
stress
kind of thing? Yeah. You take that by itself, or you take that with mixed together with something else?
Right now I'm taking it by itself, but like I take a whole bunch of supplements at once. That's usually take it with the citrulline, malate, and caffeine, and sometimes I also take like a testosterone enhancer. Oh, I'm not sure if it's really that effective, but I'm just.
Well, we got to talk about testosterone. So testosterone boosters will probably be a whole separate. I'll probably make a separate video on it because it's not long enough to make a podcast about. Because spoiler alert. A lot of testosterone boosters don't do shit. And if they do, they're steroids. You know what a really good testosterone booster is? Steroids. Okay. Anabolic steroids make you more testosterone. Although, I'll probably also address like testosterone versus free testosterone because your body holds on to most of its testosterone, and there's only like 2% of your body that like 2% of the testosterone that you have is like free testosterone that you can actually use. And there are certain substances that you could take that like free up testosterone. So like in that sense, you might be able to hack it, but I haven't seen much good stuff on that, but I have not looked into it a lot.
I'm just trying it out. I'm not sure if it's going to be effective or not.
One of those links, one of those Amazon links, huh? Some of that beetroot juice.
I can't even remember what it's called, actually. It's by Zhou, Z-H-O-U.
Okay. I don't know if you take any of those. So one thing we talk about is like what we don't take too. So like we take a lot of stuff, and I think I take a pretty similar. Like I take actually, I've been taking creatine a little bit, but just because I forget sometimes. But like creatine, I take protein powder, whey protein. I have like grass-fed protein. It's like Mexican chocolate. It's a good flavor. I like that one. Probably link to that. That's a pretty good one. That's more expensive, but I like it. So, how it tastes. But that's kind of what you do sometimes when you you pay for the more expensive protein powders. I take that protein powder. I'll take a magnesium. Sometimes it depends on how I'm feeling. That's usually some people like. Plus, if you like, supposedly like for cramps and stuff like that, or if you get like spasms and stuff like that, it's supposed to help because it helps your muscles relax. Yeah. So like older people sometimes need magnesium because it's like they have a very stiff bodies and they need to relax. So I'll take that. I take a vitamin D supplement. I take multivitamin. Oh, and I take fish oil. So one thing we didn't talk about was fish oil. I think, so you want to get omega-3s to help with anti-inflammatory purposes, right? So if you're recovering from an exercise, you want to have that. And also I've heard that for like joints and stuff like that, but that kind of brings me to my next point, picking things that work for you. So like if you're an athlete, for example, maybe you want to take something that's good for your joints. So you want to be making sure you get your omega-3 fatty acids, and you got to factor too, it's not always just in the moment. So like an athlete might take a joint supplement, like something that's going to produce glycosaminoglycans, like a glucosamine or something like that, or what are the other ones? Chondroitin or any of those derivatives of chondroitin, right? Yeah. So you take those, and you're not taking it because it's going to help your joints now. You're going to taking it it's not going to increase your performance. Like you having healthy joints is good, but it's like you're taking it so that you don't get injured later, or like after you retire, you're not completely messed up, and then your long-term health is messed up. So that's something you got to think about too, is like it's not always about during the workout. Okay, because like a lot of that is just mental. Can I get mentally stay consistent, and can I get pumped up and do a great workout? That's all But then all these supplements are about unlocking your body's abilities during that workout, but also, all your inhibitions, like you give somebody the stone people running, okay? They can keep running and running because they'll never stop running because as long as they still are stoned, they're going to keep running. But then there's also muscle recovery, recovery stuff. So everything's big on recovery because you can recover now better. Even if you can recover in between sets, you can perform better. If you can recover in between days, you can do more workouts. If you take steroids, you recover magically instantly, like 2 minutes later. You can work out 7 times a day and you're on steroids. So that's what that stuff's about. But also you got to think about your long-term health, the damage that you're doing to your body. So there's a lot of different temporal aspects to it too, different avenues. But one thing that we will tell people to avoid, probably unless we want to do a special episode on it. So obviously avoid like steroids unless you're a competitive bodybuilder or something like that, and you're not a natural thing, and that's your jam. Otherwise, don't take it at all. Don't think about it. No. And then fat burning supplements. We don't want to take those, right? Because there's nothing out there that really works. And if they did work, like I was joking with Will earlier, we'd be out of a job as personal trainers. Like if you could take a fat burner, let's say the fat burner burns 50 calories, okay? Even if it burns 50 calories, you take 10 of them or whatever, you burn 500 calories, boom. That's like running on the treadmill for however many minutes, And then do that 7 times a day or 7 times a week, 7 times 5, that's 3,500 calories. You just lost a pound of fat by taking 10 those supplements. We'd be out of a job. Like if it worked, we would be literally a whole industry of the personal trainers and blah blah. If you could just shape your body with a pill. So it's very, very tempting though, and everybody does it, and it's like you're just wasting your money. So
or there was the ones that were a little effective but dangerous, like ephedrine.
Yeah, don't take ephedrine like the competitive runners and stuff were using, or not runners. Was it runners or any endurance athlete? I can't remember. I think it was cyclists that were taking it, and they were just having they were dying in the middle of a competition because it just, their heart was freaking exploding. It's like they're
trying to work too hard.
Yeah, if you feel like your heart's pounding on your chest, it's probably a bad thing. So
yes. Definitely.
That's bad. Would you talk about fat? Oh, and so I know there are some small effects, like maybe you might be your body's smart, right? So you take this fat loss supplement, maybe it makes you burn an extra 70 calories, okay? Some kind of weird, I do take capsaicin. I do take turmeric and capsaicin. I take that sometimes too. I probably should mention that. Oh, but I also take probiotics sometimes. Should we talk about that?
Okay, yeah. No, I take that sometimes.
So
too.
for the person who's got gut issues, or a person who can't figure out what's wrong with them, why they always feel like crap, and maybe they have some kind of gut issue. Okay, so you want to make sure that's in check. So taking probiotics, maybe I have kombucha every now and then, once a week usually. I don't have it every day because whatever, it's not that important. But
I do like kombucha.
Yeah, but you want to have a leaky gut. Actually, there is. I'm not going to talk about there, but there are some supplements that you can take that also have some effects too for treating leaky gut. It's not completely established in the literature yet. That's why I didn't mention it. But you just got to pick things that work for you. So if you address the problem, and say the capsaicin thing, I brought that up because if you take capsaicin, maybe burn another 50 calories or something like that. But those are the people, there's certain supplements that only work at in very specific conditions. So say you're less than 10% body fat and you're trying to go from 8% body fat to 70%, 7% or 6% or whatever. You're trying to just squeeze that all out. And maybe for that person, it might make sense for them to take a fat loss supplement that makes them burn 70 extra calories. That's almost nothing. That's like in the wind. Oh, is that 70 calories? I'm not sure. Oh, what was that going by? It might have been 70 calories. I'm not sure. Dust in the wind, But for a competitive bodybuilder that is literally hitting a wall and their body is shutting down on them because they're trying to cut for a competition or something like that, taking the 70 calories, that's a big deal for them because if they can shed that extra 0.4 kilograms of fat or whatever before they get to their competition, that's worth it to them. But for your general person who's I got to lose 20 pounds, it's not going to do jack for you. Yeah. You're not even going to notice it. You're not going to know if it's why you're losing it. It's going to be because of, so if you haven't, it's just like that for most supplements. It's if you've done 99% of your work and you want that 100% completion feeling, that's when you take supplement. Yeah. It's got to be right for you. You got to be smart with it and don't do stupid stuff like take, think a magic pill is going to fix it for you, the fat loss thing. 99% of what you're going to do is just going to be based on your mental state and your consistency and doing the things that you know you should be doing and not relying on supplements to do them for you. So I think that that pretty much wraps up kind of like what we were trying to get at with your supplements. Is there anything else you wanted to say before we wrap things up? I think we did a good job of covering everything.
Yeah, I think we covered pretty much everything we wanted to.
Well, I appreciate you coming on here, Will. It's been awesome having somebody else on here who can bust out some biochemistry every now and then, and it's good to feel smart every now and then. I was like, oh yeah, beta hydroxy, beta methylbutyrate. Say it 5 times fast. Oh yeah, that's what really gets me going. Gets my gears going. So I'll probably see if I can get you on again sometime in the future, maybe a few months from now. You want to come on? There's so many exciting avenues we could go. I mean, pretty much whatever you want. Hopefully this is kind of giving you some ideas of what it's going to be like, but it's not going to be an all-encompassing topic. This one was hard because it's like we got to cover all this stuff in umbrella term. Yeah. Next time it's going to be like, let's talk about kind of what you've been up to lately, and let's talk about the research on cannabis or whatever, or something like that, or let's talk about blood occlusion. Yeah, what's that?
That'd be a good topic, yeah.
Yeah, or let's go see what's going on with blood occlusion training. Or let's see any one of those other things that's going on, or whatever. So yeah. Hopefully you guys like this episode. If you like this, if you're watching the video version of this, make sure you give it a like and subscribe to the channel. I'm gonna have a whole playlist that are related to the podcast. Also, if you like this kind of stuff, I talk about this stuff all the time on the stream. This kind of stream of consciousness. No pun intended, I guess. But I cover a crap ton of topics. So if you like that, check out the playlists. If you're listening to this on the audio version, rate me on iTunes, which is the Apple Podcast app. Give me 5 stars. Leave a little review that says David's awesome. It doesn't have to mean much. They don't really care what you write. You could write David sucks, but if you give me 5 stars, it gives me 5 stars. So you're like, David's a piece of crap on the side of the road, and I think he's on steroids and he's a terrible person. And go ahead and do that, okay? But make sure you leave a 5-star review. Yeah, make sure 5 stars. 5 stars, baby. 5. Boom. You heard it here first. So, and your mail will be in the check, sir. Thank you. Or your check will be in the mail. Your mail will be in the check. Oh, that sounds intense. So, all right. Well, we're gonna wrap it up. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll catch you on the next episode. And if you have any supplement questions, feel free to reach out to me on social media. Got One Life to Lift is my Instagram handle, and you can go. I'm on Twitter, One Life to Lift. Facebook.com/One Life to Lift. Hit me up. I'd love to help you guys out. I live for this stuff. Live for this shit. And we'll see you guys next time. See you guys. You only got one life to live. Boom. Hell yeah. Don't worry, I'll edit that out. Dude, I was seeing if you would just roll with it, and you did. That's good. All right, and we're